got to have the ability to protect your money. So when you get a good return in the business, it doesn't just poof and gone and you start over again.
Welcome to the Seven Figure Salon Podcast with Rachel and Drew. I'm Drew. Rachel is not around today. She'll be here a little bit later in the studio, but I've got a good friend, good partner, Jaden here with us, and we're just gonna chat about money, I think, and then you're the first guest.
Am I? Wow,
Yeah,
I feel honored. That's amazing.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, nothing formal, I think, I guess you want to tell them a little bit about where you're from, what you do, and I guess we'll just start there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let me tell a little bit about my story. So, I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I met Drew and Rachel just maybe 2 years ago at this point?
I think so. Yeah, man.
Through a mastermind event that we're both a part of. And I am a wealth strategist. I do financial strategy and planning, but I do it outside of Wall Street. So dealing with alternative assets, life insurance, different tools to gain more control of your money and have more influence over the outcomes that you get. So I think that's how we built a bond, right? We just got to know each other a little bit, very similar interests and passions and goals. And if I'm being honest, I just fell in love with you and Rachel and the things that you guys are doing and the way that you do it. So
it's wild. You're in the shed, bro. Like this is the shed.
This is a nice shed. This is a bougie shed.
It's a bougie shed. It sounds sketchy when we say we do this in a shed, but I'm like, it's nice. We have wood floors.
Yeah.
Vinyl wood floors. It's fine. Scratch resistant. But
that's right.
Man, we've been chatting all morning. One of the, I love talking about money, and no one wants to talk about money. It's not something that's discussed at like the dinner table,
Exactly.
And we're expected to kind of figure it out. And you, Brooks, and I were just talking about how we've learned skills, and we've learned a lot of learned a lot of stuff in school. Sure. I didn't go to school. I was a C student, like we were talking about before. And but once I got out and into things that I really was into, like I thrived in learning. And you learn about money like in the streets, really, with other people who know how to make money. And just so you guys know, Jaden is like my dude. Like he's one of our guys. So we work with them. They work with us. They're at our events. We move money into their companies that they're doing. They move money into companies that we're doing. We're very much financial partners. So I think it's really cool to talk with Jaden and get to pick his brain a little bit about how he thinks about money. But this is like one of our guys, you, Gary, Paul, also we just had a bond with you guys. And I really want people to know that collaboration is a huge part of what helps people make money. And I think this is nothing but a collaborative relationship. And there's a lot of people that are competing out there that are wanting to, I don't know, they're wanting to like keep secrets and not share information or people with other people. So
I agree.
I wanted to bring you on and just put you right in front of the listeners,
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And help them really learn how to do their money. So there's so much to talk about. I don't even know where to begin, but I think what we can do is maybe because a lot of salon owners listen to this podcast. They're not all salon owners, but having a policy set up, could you kind of begin to talk about that tool and like what different creative ways like a salon owner can leverage these types of accounts to help their family earn more income? Because there's like this other game happening that's not in that they can see. The salons are a business, but there's this other thing that needs to happen, right? Could maybe we could start with what that might
of course
look like.
And if it's okay, I'll even go back to I want to talk maybe even just a little bit about the purpose, right? Like why does it even matter to do any of this to begin with? So when you look at financial planning and tools and all the things that are out there, right? It's usually not the first thing that people think about, especially business owners. You're focused on your business, and that's where your focus should be. I'm a huge proponent of just having more control over your money. and influence over it. But it's like the conversation you and I were having earlier today. You're asking a little bit about real estate, right? And how involved you should be with that and what that should look like. And my personal opinion is you should be spending your time and your energy on your business because you'll never get a better return than that. But at the same time, you got to have the ability to protect your money and keep control of it. So when you get a good return in the business, it doesn't just poof and gone and you start over again, right? We want to get out of that rat race, that cycle of constantly going back to square one. And that's where the life insurance policies really play their role. Is all they're meant to do is be a replacement for how you save money so that you can be more productive, right? I talk a lot about this idea of opportunity cost, meaning we all have opportunity cost in that we save up money and we spend it on something, right? Maybe you have to invest $100,000 into a build out in a salon, or you spend $25,000 on a program or on, hair extensions or whatever it is that they need at the time. And when you do that, if it's money coming from your bank account, you spend that money and it's gone, right? And then you start over and you do it again.
Used up.
Yeah. And nobody wants to do that, but we have to. When you use a life insurance policy, you change the game because now you're saying, I'm going to save up that money. When I go spend it and put it into whatever this thing is that we need to do, you're not actually spending your own money. You're spending the insurance company's money. Your money stays inside the policy. You don't have an opportunity cost anymore. You didn't lose anything, right? Your money keeps growing and earning interest. So it's constantly working for you from the day you put it there till the day you die.
Yeah. Which there's obviously death benefits in an insurance policy, but there's so many living benefits that I think a lot of people don't maybe have heard about, but don't know how this actually works. You've heard it called infinite banking, family banking, you name it. It doesn't really matter what you call it. It's a strategy. That's what it is. It's a financial strategy created by wealthy people to exist outside of the financial institutions. So these tools are made, I don't even know, maybe I don't know, but like what year this stuff all came about.
No, whole life insurance has been around for 200 plus years. In fact, a lot of the companies we work with, like Penn Mutual, for example, is one that I have 3 personal policies with. That company's 176 years old, I believe. Like they have very long histories. And we can look back over the whole 176 years if somebody really wants to. Like I can show you dividends. There's a lot of proof of what's happened.
That's cool. It's and this took me a long time to kind of understand. And like we're saying, like you don't learn how to do this stuff until like you're doing it, And I didn't understand where the money. Okay, cool. You can loan yourself money. Say you put $200,000 in your policy. Right. And you want to buy an order. You want to do an opener of hair extensions because if I move that money into my hair extensions, I'm going to get 100% plus return. You're not going to get 100% return in real estate or something else. You're going to get 15, 20. I mean, real estate's great. I want to talk to you more about that because you do a lot more of that than I do. And, but man, like nothing's going to give you a return like your business, like Jaden's saying. And if you take the money from your policy, and I'm gonna try and walk them through it and correct me if I'm off here, but you can pull money from your policy. So you got say you pull $50,000 out of your policy, you loan yourself or your business this, and there's just documents that you do with these guys. They kind of do it for you. That money comes into the LLC. The LLC, the money now it takes like a day and a half, like 2 days.
Yeah, we can typically do it pretty quickly.
Quick, because it's you. You're not using financial institutions that are holding your money to loan it out. It's a different strategy, right? So when you do that, you can now use that money to go do what you want, invest it into like a hard asset like hair extensions, or if you're doing a build or whatever you're doing. Building a salon, expanding a salon, you name it. What blew my mind is that you don't have to pay the money back to yourself.
That's right. Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, great question. So because of the type of asset that we're using, it means that when you take a loan, that money that you're borrowing from the insurance company is backed by your own money, right? It's like when you own a home and you go take a HELOC, so a home equity line of credit. If you borrow money against your house, A lot of times they'll give you, say, an interest-only payment, or they'll allow you to basically just sit on that loan for however long you want. And they do that because the house is the asset backing the loan that they gave you, right? So if for some reason you don't pay that back, then they have your house. Well, with the insurance company, the idea is if you don't pay the loan back, when you pass away, they're contractually obligated to pay a death benefit. That death benefit's there either way. So if you don't pay the loan back, then they'll just pay the loan off with the death benefit at that time, and they'll pay the rest of it out. Because the death benefit's going to be significantly larger than the cash value or the money that you're borrowing, right? I mean, we're typically talking a significant multiple on that.
Yeah, multi-seven figure.
Yeah, so there's no risk to the insurance company.
Right. And that's all they do. They play the game of that's their game, right? Which is really interesting because they know roughly life expectancy, you know, and all these numbers are built off of real data, if you will. So it's very predictable for the insurance company. That's why the companies are so successful. They've been around for, like you said, that company 174 years, 175 years. What's interesting is, like, what's a bank, right? A bank is a company where when you put money into the bank, you're not putting money into the bank. You're actually loaning the money to a bank. That's why you make an interest on your loan, right? And they're now loaning that out also. They're this middleman that is in shipping and receiving loans. Essentially, they're a hub to move money. They're not a place to where you go put money and it sits in a room until you're ready to come get it. They're moving it constantly, right? And that's what they do. That's how they make their money. They make their money on interests and things of that nature, which blew my mind. Like, I was like, oh, that's why you get an interest on. And now, well, a lot of them don't do that anymore, or it's like so small because they want the margins to be healthy for the bank itself. So when you deposit money into a bank, you're loaning the bank money. That blew my mind. So if you have something like Jaden sets up here, you're loaning money to yourself, right? It's you, and it's just set up. That's just how it's set up. So if you decide not to pay that 50 grand back, it just comes off your death benefit. You know. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. If you do pay it back, you'll have more of an asset to loan yourself in the future too.
You will. Yes.
So there's a downside.
Yeah. Yep, and you'll have a better outcome if you do pay it back. Like, it is important to have some sort of strategy behind it. One of the things I always tell people to do is, just because you can borrow the money for anything you want doesn't necessarily mean you should, right? You should be borrowing the money for investments. You should be borrowing the money for things that actually make you money. Don't just take a loan because you want to go on a vacation and go spend 2 weeks in Italy, right? Like, you know, there's a time and place for that, but at least initially focus on the things that are going to help build your wealth, and worry about that other stuff later.
Yeah, one of the things I want to do with our kids, because we have these policies set up for our children as well. We have 8 policies now, you know?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So we have 8 of these kinds of policies set up currently. And when, say, Ollie, my son, wants to get a car, what I want to do is he can take a loan from the family bank. When you hear family bank, or what other people call it, infinite bank, the bank.
Bank on yourself, infinite banking, family banking.
Yeah, same strategy, right? People just like they'll call it something and then they'll try to sell that as like a program, which is fine, but it's all, I want you guys to understand it's the same thing. Ollie will he'll get a loan from the bank and maybe he'll have to pay like a 2 or 3% interest back to the policy, his policy, the family's policy. We're in the process of moving this all up into a trust. We're looking at different trusts right now to figure out what's the best one, because we're a little more dynamic. Like, we have multiple companies, 11 LLCs. We got 8 accounts right now. So like, we want to make sure it's the right thing. And then when you go to do these types of things, you learn by doing it, because they're not all trusts are the same. They're all different. So you really need to learn this and set it up correctly. That's where this guy comes in. but I want he'll get a loan from the bank to get a car, but he'll have to pay back
That's right.
in the agreement. He'll have to pay back 2% or 3% or whatever interest we choose as his parents for his car back to the bank. So the family bank will grow
That's right.
by loaning money to Ollie or any of the kids.
Yeah.
I want to do this with our homes too.
Yeah, and this really gets into a mindset thing, right? Like using life insurance the way that we do. I think it's important to understand that life insurance is just a tool, just like anything else you can do financially. Being successful with money is so much more about your mindset and the way that you think about managing it and handling it. Because you could easily set up an amazing life insurance policy that is intended to do everything perfect and still not do well, right?
Like
You could
not
still
fund
blow
it.
it. Yeah, you could still blow the whole system because the education's not there and the understanding of how to do it. That really plays into the kids. I've done something very similar, obviously, is I have 4 young kids. I have a trust, everything's set up to where what the kids will do is they each have their own policy, which is kind of intended for college funding, but we can get into this conversation if you want to, but I'm not actually a huge proponent of college from the sense that I think college is kind of a commercial institution more than it is helpful sometimes. Like I have a degree, I spent plenty of time and energy on that, but my degree isn't that helpful to what I actually do, right? It's not where I figured out how to do the things that I do today. And so I use life insurance as this way to say, if you want to go to college, I will support you in that, and we'll teach you how to take these policy loans, and I want you to use this as your student loans instead of taking student loans elsewhere. But if you don't want to do that, we can use the policies to start a business. We can buy real estate. Like there's other things that can be done, but I have restrictions around what they can actually use it for, right? Those are just within our family. We set these guidelines and says, okay, you can use it for these things, but you can't use it to go buy a Ferrari, right? You can't use it to go just do whatever you want. And it does start with things like buying a car. Like my 8-year-old, for example, she recently wanted a new bike. It was like a $400 bike. And I said, okay, she's only 8, so there's only so much we can do, but I just want her to start learning, because the younger you can teach them, the better chance they have of following these guidelines. Yeah. And so that's what I did is I loaned her the money. I said, okay, Dad will pay for half of this bike. I want you to pay for the other half, but I'll give you a loan for that. And then you can kind of work that off with chores, and like we can work together on that, just so that she can learn the concept of how that money works, right? That's all it's for, is to teach her. And that's all we're doing with the policies at that young age, is just want them to learn how money works. That's it.
Yeah. That's huge. I wish I had to do that. That would be, because it's you hear it all the time, but it's such a game.
Yeah.
It's such a game, because traditionally what would people do? They would go use a debit card to go get the bike, or better, they use some credit to get the bike. You get some points, and then you're on a rhythm, and then you pay it down in 20 days or whatever. Or you do that, or they can, maybe they put money in this account. These are just ideas. And this is the fun part with money, is because it's so creative. Like you can get super creative in talking about how to do things to make more money move. Say they grow up, and then you've been funding these accounts, and they've been working, and you've been contributing to these accounts. Then you can go get real estate with this income. They can either live in it, they can rent it, or they can sell it. I agree with you on the school thing. It's like if you go to school, it's like you're beautifully equipped to be set up for the workforce of the past. Because how long does it take, like a textbook, to get approved to get into the teachings of the universities?
Yeah.
I think it's great for like discipline, and I wish I'd have went early on, but I would still have gone through my learning process of everything that I've done. I went on tour after high school, so like that was an experience. Like I learned stuff, but not. I could have probably moved a little quicker if I was in college. Having the discipline, I think it builds discipline. It builds the ability to do difficult things, because college is difficult, man. It's not like a cakewalk.
Yes and no, right? Like it's one of those things where a lot of people do just skate through it, and like you can get through
This cruise.
and learn very little.
Yeah,
Right.
I would just struggle through it. Had a hard time in classrooms.
Yeah, and that's me as well. Like I'm not a classroom guy. I learn by doing, and I think that's true of a lot of entrepreneurs. Right? There's definitely a trend there of you learn by just getting in and figuring it out. You make the mistakes, fail a lot, but as long as you keep going, you'll come out on top.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people trying to figure out how to grow their money, like make more money, you know. And this just one thing. So the salon, like our path or our process is we want the salon to run efficiently. We have a few companies, so we want the companies to run efficiently, and then I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think here's where people mess up. Maybe they start the account, but then they don't fund them to the maximum ability, because we get caught up allocating money to different things. But if you fund these accounts, I really look at it like, if you go spend money on something, like we had to buy all these cameras. We have Sony cameras. Guess who I gave the money to? Sony, the owner of Sony, you know, the people of Sony. All good. I needed them. If you go into the grocery store, you're giving your dollar to the grocery store. If you put money in your policy, you're keeping it. You're giving that money back to yourself to be able to leverage it and use more things with. How often do you see people start these things and not exhibit the pattern of behavior to grow them?
Yeah, great question. It can be common. Like, just speaking broadly to the industry, there's a lot of times where somebody gets a policy and then they never do anything with it, right? They never talk to anybody again about it, which I think is a problem for people like myself. Like, it's the advisors that are causing that problem. Because for this to work, there really has to be ongoing education and ongoing conversations. Typically what I find is the first couple of years, it's, you know, you need some common check-ins to make sure that people understand and do it, because it is a mindset change. Like, the name of the company that I'm a part of is called Paradigm Life, right? Mindset shift. Because in order for this to be successful, you have to change the way you think about money.
Is that what that means?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep. So it's just about changing the way you think about money so that you can be successful, because we're all stuck in whatever it is you learned growing up. And, you know, it can be really hard to get away from that, right? If you spent 20, 30 years thinking about that, it's not overnight. And so,
no. And these guys have like maybe you could tell them about the difference between, I read a book called Money Master the Game a while back. Huge book, Tony Robbins book, massive. It was like a life accomplishment finishing that book. But this is the first time I learned about these types of things. Yeah. And I try to set up a policy before. There's all kinds of different policies, right? I wish I'd have met you guys 10 years ago, because we were aggressively contributing to these other types of policies, these IULs, if you will. Yep. And they're great. They have their function, but it wasn't the function that we were looking to, and I was told it was, and it just wasn't. And I wasn't trying to get like duped necessarily. I don't feel like I was like that, but it just wasn't. It felt like a broker relationship, you know. So people will go to the bank, or they'll go to Uncle Doug, who seems to do okay, but they're not getting information from wealthy people. Like, what are wealthy people doing? How are they doing this? What's the infrastructure set up? And they'll go to the broker. Maybe they buy like a CD, which is maybe gets them a bit of a return. Cool. But that person working at that financial institution, that Charles Schwab, that Chase, at JP Morgan or whatever, they're doing their job. And their job is to sell a product. You know, their job is to broker this thing that they want to get you in at that particular bank, right? And these things, because again, you're loaning the money, that money's going out, right? They give you a return. That's happening, but there's no the tool. And these are great people too. They're not like out trying to get anybody, you know. It's just like you need a Phillips head and you're getting a tape measure. You know, it's
Yeah.
just the wrong tool to be able to move the money. And you guys, interesting. When I talk to y'all have this fiduciary responsibility in this relationship. You know,
Yes.
maybe you could tell them about like what that fiduciary, like what that even means.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah. You know, just generally speaking, in the insurance industry, there is not much of a fiduciary responsibility, which is part of why you talk about your IULs. It's part of why somebody can sell you a policy and then disappear, right?
he was gone.
Yeah, like that is not uncommon in
Haven't
this
heard
world.
from you, Sean. Where you at, bro? It's been a minute.
And so that really gives the industry a bad reputation. You know, it's why people like Dave Ramsey, for instance, don't like life insurance, because it's sold as a product and then people take off. I personally I am an actual fiduciary. Like I have a designation that is called a certified financial fiduciary for that reason, right? Like it's really important to have some sort of responsibility to your clients and make sure that, you know, you're ethically involved in their success. So unfortunately though, the trend is not great in the industry.
Yeah. And what's interesting with these guys too is because we were we work with them, and I try to set up a situation to where, like, hey, if we bring you guys clients, you know, some sort of, because you have these partnership agreements, you know, a kickback agreement, if you will, you know, and y'all couldn't do it, you know, which is interesting. I was like, okay, got it. Like, because that would influence their fiduciary responsibility to the customer, right? Wild, right? And I was like, oh, this is different, you know? And there's nothing wrong with, like, if you have partnership agreements set up with people, but it would just, it would have muddied the water for what they do. So the fiduciary responsibility is real and genuine to the customer. Really cool to have a conversation with someone who has that kind of relationship with you, for you. It adds a lot of clarity to the client, us, you know, because we have a bunch of policies now. So we're always trying to figure out how to leverage these things to make them grow more, you know. Like, what's one of the most common mistakes that you see with people with their income? Like, they're making money, they're making some money, but they don't take they get stuck.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. You know, I just recently had a conversation with somebody similar to this, where I think that one of the biggest mistakes that we make when you're a business owner or just trying to create any level of success is being indecisive, right? If you can't make decisions, you're always going to be stuck. You're just going to go in circles forever, right? At least in the business world. That may not apply to everything, but in the business world, you've got to do your homework, and you've got to understand what you're talking about enough that you can make a decision without having to have every little detail, and then you can circle back around and get the details later too, right? You'll find that with any really successful person. They can make a decision very quickly, and then they do it. They do what they say they're going to do, right?
It's the people. I know you talk to a lot of people thinking about it, kicking the can, and they don't mean to. I talk to people thinking about it every day, all the time. And, you know, I wish I could cross my legs better. My legs are too short. Like, you look all comfortable. Like, I'm having a hard time. I always have a hard time crossing my legs because my damn femur bone's so short. Anyway,
I've got long, lanky legs.
dude, I got some short ass legs. Like, I sit down, I'm supposed to be like 6'2".
Yeah.
Like, as I sit, like, I'm even slouching. Like, if I'm sitting up, you know, but I stand up, you're like, oh, bro, he's like 5'11". And it's a joke. I'm like 5'11 and a half. Like, I didn't get
You didn't get that extra.
no.
half. Don't get to claim 6
my
foot.
whole life, man, I've tried just to get to the 6. You know,
I know. Same thing. As long as I got shoes on, I can call 6 foot. But
just not. But if I wear boots, ladies, any guy wearing boots adds like 3 inches to their height. Just so you know, I can't do it. I can't do the boot. I'll do a boot every now and then, but I feel like a pilgrim.
yeah, that's right.
Or like the hats, like the girls wear, the hairstylists wear. It's all cute, you know. Like Rachel wears that. Those hats, you know.
Oh yeah.
We sell them at the salon. If I put that hat on, I look like I'm about to go cultivate some land. Like, I just don't. It doesn't
fit.
work.
Does not fit for us.
It doesn't work at all. You know, Anyway, but forgot what I was talking about.
Yeah, no, we were going over decisiveness.
Decisiveness.
Of entrepreneurs, right?
You nailed it. It's like that is the key thing. Me and Rachel make more moves by 10 a.m. than most people do the whole week, I think. Doesn't mean they're all right. Doesn't mean we're batting 100%. We don't.
Well, and that's the key right there, right?
Yeah.
Again, just to reiterate, like how important that is. Just the amount of success you guys have seen because you make decisions, right?
Yeah.
You have to be, you have to be willing to fail, right? You have to understand that failure is not a bad thing. It's only bad if you fail and you don't get back up.
Yeah. And to grow something, maybe you've seen this. I've certainly seen this. I've heard about this. To build something great, whether it's like your net worth, whether it's a business, they're connected. But like you really have to put everything on the line to grow it. Like you have to put everything on the line to do it. Even something small like this podcast. Y'all go back on my feed someday and go look at the first podcast. It's trash. Like it's so bad. Like I didn't know what I was doing. You just keep making iterations and iterations and iterations and iterations, and then you figure it out. Like this whole podcast is set up with light, positions, and settings. That's really it. Same thing with, I think, money. There are settings. There's a position. There's relationships with people that help these things grow. And you have to put things on the line to grow them. I'm not going to make any money if I don't move my money. I just won't. And you're going to lose money when you move money. We have, we just got back from Asia. Like that was expensive as shit. Like we weren't, build your own brand was going still. Thankfully, we have an amazing team. But I think we missed a week. We couldn't produce episode. Like we were just paused, but we needed to go do this. And then even when Brooks is editing down the clip, is like, if this is sketchy, like we have to shut everything down, because if there's some weird shit going on out here, like we can't sleep at night knowing there's weird shenanigans going on. So it was a relief to be able to go in and out and around everything, But you got to put things on the line, and so many people don't.
Right.
They just don't do anything. They freeze.
Yeah, and by the way, I've seen some of the clips of what you guys have done on that trip, and it's pretty amazing. I think your audience has something really big to look forward to there.
Very cool. I sent him a sneak peek of the doc. As the time of this episode airing, the documentary hasn't been released yet, but if you're listening to this in the future, it's out. So I don't even know what we're gonna call it. Really, what are we calling it, Brooks? Do we know? We haven't settled on it, so I can't do a hot take right now. Hot take. Made in China. I like that. Yeah. I like rooted in China. Okay. Get it? Roots.
Made in China calls to like the labels that are on everything. So
yeah.
Like there's a provocativeness to it, like I said.
There is. The red.
Rage bait,
yeah. There's a red curtain. We went behind it. Me and Rach are going to do an episode and talk all about it, but we were way out there. Brooks had been freaking out. I was like, "You want to go?" He's like, "No."
Not a
I was
chance.
like, "All right."
I'm busy this week.
He
Sorry.
didn't even hesitate. He's like, "Nope, I don't want to go." So there's So you got a salon owner. She knows how to make money. Stylists and salon owners know how to make money.
Yeah.
They do not know how to make money. They know how to work hard. They know how to make money. The challenge is how to multiply the money. So you had some really cool things you're talking about. Maybe even you could do a take on what you're going to be talking about. You're speaking at SalonCon.
I am. Yeah.
I don't want to glaze over that. Jaden, is going to be. That happen a lot?
Actually, it's relatively common.
The thing I get called Andrew all the time.
Yep.
Like it's just true. I don't get offended though, but
yeah, no, it's not a big deal.
I get it.
Not a big deal.
So some people you say their name wrong and they all pissed. Like, you're sensitive. But
yeah, sorry about that.
Jaden's going to be speaking at SalonCon. We were kind of going over his keynote. Really cool, because I think you're tying down for the salon owner, like what they can do if they set up a policy and they put $50K in a policy, just to get it going, and they're contributing What are we doing? Quarterly, annually?
Either.
Either?
Yeah, you can. There's a lot of flexibility around how you do that.
Like how you
for
set
sure.
it up. And if you need to move it, you can move it. It's not like the end of the world if you need to change things. But if you set something up, like do it. That's the best way to do that. But yeah, could you share some ideas that you have about how salon owners can leverage their policies to make more money with their policy or grow their business?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say something here too, that this is a hill I'll die on, but I think that the salon owner, the individual, you are your best asset, right? The education, the time that you put into getting where you're at is far more important than anything else you could possibly do. So taking that asset that you built, being yourself, and now using the life insurance to protect that asset and protect your future, that's just step one. So we get that going. And then I've worked with a fair amount of your audience at this point. We have quite a few people that I'm good friends with, and it's been really good. But a common thing is using the policies for salon build outs, right? You might spend $150,000 on a build out. And what we would do in that case is, before you do the build out, run the money through your life insurance policy, take the policy loan, do the build out. But what you've done is you've captured that $150,000 forever, and it will forever now earn interest for you, even though you're using it to build the salon, right?
You said something interesting, that captured. You've captured that money. It's interesting. So you have the money wherever, typically when you want to do something, sometimes the money's there. A lot of times it's not. You got to figure it out, right? You got to go acquire the money. But he said capture it. So by depositing this money out of the bank, because what we're doing with the bank, you're loaning the money to a bank. Yes, you can make a withdrawal or a distribution to yourself. Right? That's important. Or you could capture it in your policy, like he's saying. And then from there, they can loan it back to themselves. Time, roughly, say, because sometimes these things are time sensitive, right?
Sure. Yeah, they can
obviously
be.
More preparation, the better, right? But say someone wants to expand or do a second location, or they're a stylist listening to this, and they want to be really, really smarter than all the other business owners out there. They start a policy with you. They get money, 150 grand. They put it in their policy. How long before that they can move that?
Yeah, before they can take it back. In a perfect world, we'd have 30 days. 30 days or more. It's not impossible to do it in less time than that, but that is the timeline that works well for the insurance companies. And from my perspective, it doesn't really matter as much. It's just whatever you need in the insurance company. My job is to just make sure it works.
Yeah.
Right.
So they put the money in the policy. Can you walk them through next steps? Like now they got 150 grand in a policy. How would they go about loaning it to themselves? And can you explain to them how that money will stay? I mean, you did before, but just kind of reiterate how this would play out in real life, in a real situation.
Yeah. So, real life scenario, we're doing a build out or something. We start the policy, we put the 150K in, and we try to make it pretty simple. So it's basically just when you're ready to take that loan, or if we already know you're going to do it when we start the policy, my team prepares all the docs. And when I say all the docs, it's like 2 documents. It's one document authorizing the amount of money you want. Like you have to give them permission to actually send it to you. And then the second one is telling them where to send it, right? You need to give them your bank info so they can send it over to you. You sign those 2 things. The insurance company processes the loan. They do not ask you questions. They don't care what you're using the money for. It's not a credit check. There's no type of approval for that loan, right? Because they know, again, your money's sitting inside the policy, so there's no risk.
It is a loan.
Yeah. And so they're giving you their money from a totally separate account. But again, no approval process, no credit checks. They will just process it because you sent them the document and said to do it. So that processing time is typically 5 to 7 days. If you need it faster, we can do it faster. Like we can have them wire you the money overnight or something. But if we're just letting the process play out as would be typical, 5 to 7 days.
Wow. So they loan the money to themselves, to their LLC, wherever they want it, personal.
Yeah. All that really matters is when you take money against a policy, when you take that loan, you just have to have whoever the owner of the policy is, that person's name has to be on whatever bank account it's going to.
Both. It's going to be a direct,
Yep.
you to you,
Yep.
not you to your husband or you to, it's you to you. Because me and Rachel have policies. We don't have the same. She has one, I have one. It's under our family entity, but I got one, she's got one. The kids got their own, right? I couldn't take a loan for mine to Rachel, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd have to be me to me, her to her.
Yep. But once it hits your bank account, you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
So
If you're on the same LLC though, and you guys are both, can they do that? Like say, you have these blocker LLCs that people can start. Like say, we have a company and it's her and I on this bank account. We're both on there. Could that then go into that account?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that.
Bada bing.
So
There you go.
you'd be fine.
So sorry, I keep kicking your foot. I do that to Rachel all the time because my little ass legs, I just can't figure them out.
Just swinging them around over there.
Yeah, lengthwise. There's, I do lunges. They're good. So they start the policy. Cool. Money comes in. Cool. They've moved it into an LLC.
Yep.
Got it. So now they've captured the money. The money stays in the account. About annually, how much is that making them per year?
Sure, like the interest amount you're earning.
Yeah.
So, typical with a life insurance policy in today's environment, 5.5% maybe, because you're earning interest in two ways. You get a guaranteed rate. So worst case scenario, insurance companies falling apart, they still have to pay you the guarantee, and then they pay a dividend on top of that. And the thing that I always try to help people understand is that the interest rates, both on what you're earning and what you're paying, the rates really don't matter, right? Like it doesn't matter if you're earning 3% or 20%, because of what we're doing with this. This is not meant to be an investment. It's meant to be a replacement for savings and a long-term growth tool, right? So the other side of that coin is if you're earning 5%, that means your loan rate's probably going to be somewhere similar. And if you see your loan rate go up, like people get nervous when we went from, in 2020, we had these ridiculously low interest rates. And then all of a sudden in 2022, we now are at 6 or 7%. Insurance companies are not that high today. But the point I want to make is that if you see that loan rate going up, that's not a bad thing. I would love to pay the insurance company 20% interest on my loan because it also means they're paying me 20% interest. Right? Don't forget those two things are going to follow each other.
Like in parallel, in a sense.
Yeah.
And then when you loan this up, you have the money in your account, the money stays in. So, and please stop me here if my logic is wrong. If you move the money into your company and now that dollar becomes, you're making a return on the dollar that you just invested in your company. Like say you launch, so he's talking about build out. Say you do a hair extensions and you're doing an opening order of hair extensions and say we're doing this with 20 grand. Now those hair extensions typically, like our clients will typically see 100+% return on their dollar. So now you got money that's making moves that's holding in the policy. And then now this money is also growing at the same time. So you've taken the dollar and that dollar is now working double.
2 times at once. Yeah. I'll refer to this sometimes as the and asset, right? Because you're growing your money and you're using it at the same time. Doing 2 things.
If you do that right.
Yeah.
You can also fuck that up.
Oh, absolutely.
You can fuck that up. So if you go do dumb shit with that money and you don't make money with it, then that's not the case.
Yes.
So you need to work with people so you make the right decisions in the right sequence. So you roll into hair extensions. Now that's growing. You make money, up. You can pay that money. Now when you recoup the money, you can pay it back to yourself or not. You can talk to your guy about the choice. Okay, cool. If I don't pay myself back, what are the implications of that? If I do, pros and cons, make a freaking T-chart, make a decision, we like to pay it back right now, just because we want to keep doing more things with what we got going on.
Yeah. Right? And on that same note, if you really want to see your success multiply and, have some exponential growth, get a coach. Right? Hire somebody. Bring somebody in that you can be accountable to. so that you actually do those things, right? And I know you and Rachel are huge proponents of that, and
Yeah.
have paid tons of money to lots of people to coach and be part of masterminds and things. And I can, with confidence, say that that will make all the difference every time.
Yeah. I was thinking back because I started my first business in 2013, and quickly realized I had no idea what I was doing. I think 6 months in, I started working with coaches.
Yeah.
That guy was also a douchebag. I've hired some douchebag coaches, you guys.
That does happen.
Yeah, that'll happen. But I don't. It's fine because I acquired wisdom there. Like I know what I know. Because when I hear real information with real people doing real things, I'm like, this is the real. I know this is real because I know what the BS is. You have a lot of people teaching things that aren't doing things. Like Jaden does this. We do this. It's not theory. Like we're actively doing this. So we're actively building salons. We're actively dealing with problems in the economy. As business owners and investors, private equity people and all the things. So,
and that's another good point, right? We had this conversation earlier, but I was telling Drew that I would say I'm not the best marketer in the world. And I said, hey, Drew, I'll hire you to, show me some of what you guys do with your marketing. When you go to hire coaches or you hire people to help you with things, make sure they've done it first, right? Make sure they're actively engaged and involved in that thing. Because there's a lot of coaches out there who have never actually done anything, but claim to be.
Yeah. And look at what they've done. Like, do you like what they do? There's a lot of marketing people out there. This poor girl. I forgot. I talked to a lot of people. I talked about sometimes 6-7 people a day. She had gotten a marketing coach and then she had gotten a billboard. And I'm like, how much has that made you? She's like, $0. Okay. Because you get these impressions, right? Like an impression is not a conversion.
Yes.
So people can see it. But a lot of marketing people will show you like, look at all these leads. It's not a lead. It's not what that is. And you have people kind of want to coach you off of like theory and this razzle dazzle. That's not conversion.
Yeah. You don't want to pay for fluff. You want to pay for results. Right?
Yeah.
If somebody has results, if they've done it themselves, okay, then it's worth investing your time and energy into.
For sure. Where can people find you?
Yeah, great question. So a couple different places. I have
His cell phone number is.
That's right. 80. No. You can find me at my website. It's just my first and last name, so it's jadenzubal.com. We also have our company website, paradigmlife.net. And then I'll make sure Drew has all my contact information to pass along as well.
Yeah. We'll put it in the bio too, so you can. They just kind of they can find you, have a call with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I do free consultations just to get to know each other a little bit, make sure that I'm a good fit for you, right? Because obviously I have a very specific skill set, I would say. There are things that I am certain I can help you with, and other things that I might tell you, hey, there's this other guy, right? And I'll admit that up front. So I think it's a good idea just to get to know each other and see how we can help.
Cool. You do a lot of real estate.
I do.
You do real estate. He's built. I ask him questions about real estate. I'm going to ask him questions about real estate. Actually, I'll just ask you here. So we have money in our policies, right? We chat about this before, and it was interesting. Was I thought you were going to point me to real estate. She pointed me back into my business.
Yeah.
Because if you take away, I was like, I want to do some real estate because we have a house we're about to flip. I'm like, we're gonna do some more real estate. Man, if I take $100,000 and I go, maybe I divide that down and get a couple single families. This house is taking a minute to do. Like
it does,
dude. Like a lot going on with that, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to keep doing more of those. It's like you could, but your business is always going to be the biggest return that you can do. So I think me and Rachel are going to meet on where can we put this money back into what we're doing, and then create a return or a payback for our policies.
I love that. Yeah, Again, that takes me back to you're your best asset, right? Like the things that you guys know how to do and have done already. You're not going to see that in anything else that you can invest in. Like real estate, I love it. The asset class is amazing. And I do think you should invest in it. Just don't let it take away from where the real success is, right? Because I've personally made that mistake, and that's why I can say that with confidence. Is I put a lot of energy into real estate, and it became more of a business than it was a investment at that point, right? And once it's a business, okay, now I've got to spend X amount of time on it every week and every month, and it takes away from what I really enjoy doing, which is being here, doing stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
And so it's, find what you love, what you guys have, keep that as the main focus, and then if good investments come up, which they will, that's another thing with when you start putting money away and you start saving and things like these policies and building up this foundation, opportunities will find you. They always do. And you can take time to vet it, and you should, but you can keep that amount of time appropriate to what success you'll actually see from it.
Yeah. Love it. Great advice, ma'am. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, it was awesome. I hope this is valuable, guys. Re-listen to this episode. We went over a lot of stuff. Grab a call with him. It's free 50, right? So hop on, talk with Jaden. I've got him here in Texas for till 5:30 today, so I'm gonna pick his brain while I got him. We'll see you next time.